This On, Season 4, Episode 51, the finale. I'm Chris Lorenz.
I'm Max.
Robert Titz.
Noah Singer.
Annabeth.
Harris Hoffman.
I'm Brian.
Hey, what's up? This is James.
All right, well, welcome. If this is your first time listening, what we're going to go through is our top 5 and our bottom 5. We've got a little weird format here to describe is if my fifth pick is somebody's like first pick, we will skip my fifth pick and we will talk about it at the highest echelon tier at number 1. So we don't lose the excitement that it is the number 1 pick. So I like that format. And last season, we did like a weird format this year. We're just going to do the worst and the best. And that's how this is going to go. So.
And we're going to have an overall worst and an overall best, right? Like at the end of it?
They're gonna join our Hall of Fame. Chris, do you want to recap our existing Hall of Fame members? Do you know off the top of your head?
From what I recall, I believe Survivor was our number 1.
Survivor was your number 1. I don't think it was the overall number 1.
I don't remember the overall number 1.
The host is the only one that matters.
So I think our best Hall of Fame is Season 1 champion Married at First Sight, Season 2 champion The Challenge, and Season 3 champion Jersey Shore Family Vacation. So MTV is actually on a 2-year streak of best show.
Some great choices.
Unbelievable.
Man, how have we not made like a Who Put This On championship belt yet? We really dropped the ball.
We could do some kind of nightclub Hall of Fame with the Who Put This On. But our other Hall of Fame, so our Season 1 worst of the worst was The Celebrity Apprentice. Season 2 was You the Jury. And Season 3 was Chrisley Knows Best.
Oh, yeah.
Chrisley Knows Best.
That one.
Thanks, Brian.
Controversial choice, but after I think 18 addendums, that was where we landed.
Yeah, there's some drama on that one.
Side note, I also want to give a quick shout out to the person who compiled all this stuff. Previous guest on our podcast, Emmy Kitts, who has compiled all these things. It was previously my job, so thank you so much for doing it this time, Emmy.
Woo! Ooh, yeah.
Thanks, Emmy. What are people thinking? They want to go to worst or top first? Worst first.
Oh yeah.
All right. So let's start it out. Does anyone have a worst 5, in their 5th worst that they're not skipping?
Have we ever done this? Have we ever done this successfully, or we haven't accidentally ruined it?
No, we haven't.
Okay.
Definitely not.
Airing that out there.
This is the one.
Okay. Is it
James, no worst 5.
No, James has one.
James, you have a 5. This is your 5th worst.
Have a 5, which is.
Well, okay.
Wait. Never mind. Just kidding.
James.
Okay. I was very close. The problem is I have 2 buckets of 5, and I was looking at the top bucket, not the bottom bucket.
Okay.
Okay.
My
to
bad.
reiterate, does anybody have a number 5 worst show?
That's
not skipping.
It looks like Harrison.
I have a 5th worst show. If that's what we're talking about, we're clarifying. 5th worst show.
Yup.
My 5th worst show of this season is X on the Beach, Peak of Love.
Yeah.
Very understandable.
Wow.
Give us the pitch.
Man, if you haven't seen X on the Beach before, it's one of the worst reality shows you can find yourself on. You're trapped in a real world type of house with a bunch of your exes and a bunch of other hot people that you want to date. So it's a pretty bad situation. This time they decided to do it on a mountain instead of a beach, and it was terrible. That's kind of all I've got for it. It was just bad, just not a great show.
I have a question for you before we move on.
Yeah.
Is this worse than the regular X on the Beach, or is it equal? Or
it's worse than the regular X on the Beach for a couple of reasons. I think one is just it's just kind of derivative. It didn't really do too much except for swap out the setting, and the setting changes they made doesn't even make it better. Now they're just on this mountain. In the original X on the Beach, when your ex would show up to haunt you on the show, they would show their ex emerging from the water like a sea monster or something like that. And it was a very dramatic moment, but you don't really get that on the mountain because they just kind of strolled to the house.
No.
I just want to get the record straight is that your complaint is that they were wearing skimpier clothes in the water, so that made that show better. And now that they're like skiing and stuff, it's like not as good.
It's more like
I think you could interpret my comment in that way.
Well,
but
you
what
are
I
also
mean is that it's more
very incorrect.
Dramatic shot because also James is shaking his head because I am now realizing that in the one that's on the mountain, they show them snowboarding or skiing down the mountain, but I'm pretty sure that that's not even them skiing and snowboarding, and it's a fucking stunt person.
Oh, it's
So
definitely
that-
fake.
that didn't get
I
the
agree.
point.
I'm glad that you caught your.
I'll leave you
incorrection.
alone. It's fine. All right. Does anyone have a 4 that they're not supposed to skip? We got a couple. Rob, what do you got for me?
So my fourth similar theme to Harrison was Paradise Hotel, and I feel like we did not a lot of which was a bad one, but Paradise Hotel I think was the worst one of all the ones we did. It tried to be like it's the very Love Island kind of thing, but was just not well executed and pretty boring and just not good.
I'm right there
I
with you,
struggled with that
Rob.
one,
I
too.
also had Paradise Hotel as my 4th worst.
Good choice, James.
A very bland sort of Love Island, Bachelor in Paradise kind of situation.
I apparently rated this one. I don't remember it at all.
I also
would
did not
be
remember it
curious
and had to look it
shows.
up. Sorry,
Yeah, I
Annabelle.
had to look this one up also, and then I remembered how much I hated it. But I didn't put it in my top 5 because I could not remember enough about it.
She was listening to our pod for like 30 minutes last night trying to remember that she was on trying to remember this show.
I
I'm
feel
okay
like
with
it's
it.
your ultimate
I
worst
remember it being bad, but I have I don't really remember it well enough that it's like the worst. The other shows I put on my list, I remember that they are really bad. Like this might have been just too long ago, but it's also like, if I don't remember it being really bad, like how bad is it?
I feel like this was just another one of those very blah, romantic, bullshit kind of shows. And none of us, I think we all were kind of like generally just bored because like we didn't care enough about any of the people. Like they just did such a bad job at storytelling in like a show that I feel like I didn't re-listen to the pod, so maybe I'm incorrect here. But I feel like generally we were all just kind of bored and just like, yeah, this is just garbage and hard to care about, and therefore we've totally forgotten about it.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I believe Kristen Cavallari was the host of this show.
That's
Which is-
what it was.
You're right.
Correct.
And didn't do a great job, if my memory serves.
No, she's awful.
I definitely remember us talking about if they should swap her out for Jay Cutler and see if it improved the show, but I don't think they ever did that.
Would you give the show another chance now if it was hosted by Jay Cutler?
100%.
I think I'm with you. I think I would at least give it another watch.
For sure.
Does he get the show in the divorce?
They announced the show's canceled today.
Oh
Very
shit!
Cavallari?
Barry Cavallari is no more.
Oh. All right, Brian, you have a number 4, right?
I do,
Correct.
yes. My number 4 is Love is Blind.
Oh.
That
What-
I just
what-
remember being like,
Tell us why.
I mean, I definitely continued to like watch it and just thought that like they never really executed on it. Like the first episode, like even was still like very boring, and they supposedly supplied them with so much alcohol, and just never did anything with it. Like, why are you not like doing like a party situation? Come on.
And then they get married.
Yeah, then they just get married, and then just like it's even worse than can expected.
I'll give you it's a very poorly produced show in terms of like somebody going from dating to getting married, and like I get it,
Yeah, but
but
then again, like some
my bottom 5 in any aspect.
Well, the other thing is like my bottom 5 are going to be, well, my ratings are going to be different because like I wasn't on every single podcast, so like
Yeah.
I filtered based off of like that. So like this is why I made the cut.
I think Love
You
is
have-
Blind is a very disappointing show. And I think especially after, I think most of us have seen like an episode of Married at First Sight, which is doing a similar thing, but like really, really well. And Love is Blind does it terribly.
Yep.
Yeah. Does anyone have a 3? Raise your hands if you have a 3 that we're not supposed to skip.
I have a 4 still.
Oh, you still have a 4? Annabeth. I
Yeah.
didn't see your hand. Sorry.
I have a 4. I wrote down American Pickers.
Why?
I thought it was very boring. It was a lot of looking at signs. There's no plot. Very forgettable. Did not like it.
There was no Christmas in the Christmas episode.
There was no Christmas. It was a Buck Wild themed episode. Throw it in the garbage.
Throw it in the
That's fair.
garbage is very appropriate for American Pickers because they're just picking through garbage.
All right.
I
guess now
definitely was considering American Pickers for my bottom 5. It just missed the cut.
Yeah, it was a contender for me as well, just barely missing the cut. We should get into, this reminds me, Rob, later, I definitely want to get the stats breakdown from you on how balanced people's bucketings were.
Oh,
We'll come back to
I
that.
prepared a couple notes on the stats.
I knew you would. That's why you're dependable.
We
got
trusted
it.
you with it. All right, let's go into everyone's number 3. I have all skipped so far. So
Same.
Noah, what do you got for us at number 3?
At number 3, we got What the Love. For
Oh, what the love!
Oh yeah, this is
Yeah.
what's the show, Noah.
This is the Indian Netflix dating show hosted by Karan Johar. This is where Karan Johar plays Cupid in trying to match 2 urban singles with each other.
Yeah. Why? You want to tell us why it's bad? Like, elaborate at all?
I think that's the point. There's nothing to elaborate on. It was just nothing original, kind of poorly executed, over the top tacky, not enjoyable.
This was the one where she kept talking about the Graham generation, right? And they were like,
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
Different
Did-
show.
Okay.
We didn't watch like a second episode of this. Like we did watch like episode 1 where they were introducing like everybody at the parties.
We
I
watched
think.
half of episode 1, then we watched a full episode 3 or 4.
Okay, yeah.
With Vaibhav. Vaibhav was the protagonist of episode 4.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Anyone else got a?
I back you up, Noah. This show this show was just so boring. Like there are so many elements that reminded us of other shows. Like, oh, this is kind of like documental. This is kind of like Dirty Dancing, but none of them were good.
Yeah, like they have like a Queer Eye like.
Oh yeah, this Queer Eye pirate.
Like they try to give like the geeks like dating tips or how to dress better, but all those segments just fall super shallow, and then you just start getting confused. They're trying to actually match up like the dating code with the actual person. All around, just really poorly done.
Anyone else have a 3? No one? No one else got 3. All right, so we move on to number 2. Everyone's got number 2. I haven't said anything yet, so I'm going to go first, since I actually have one, and it is Nailed It. Nailed It is my second worst show, and, it is one of my worst shows ever. I can't imagine that people like this show. It's so negative. I just can't watch people be bad on purpose and then make fun of them, or like just be bad and then make fun of them. It's just, I can't stand this whole show in any aspect from any.
Thank you for choosing this. This is my number 4 worst. It's so awful. I don't understand people who like it. I don't get it.
I don't get it.
I'm happy I missed this podcast.
Anyone else got a different number 2 they want to talk about? All right, Max, what do you got for me?
Mine is not a show. Mine is an app. It's called Quibo. It's it is a app for your phone. It's called Quick Bites or Quibi. It has like maximum 7-minute episodes of just like the most uninspired garbage you've ever seen. It's the closest thing I can relate this to is like there's this Rick and Morty episode where they're just like flipping through a bunch of channels and seeing a bunch of garbage, and it's like, one of the shows we watched is like a bunch of people get a bunch of food thrown at them and they have to taste it and figure out what it is. There's one where somebody is like screwing a sex doll or something. It's one of the wildest hours of television I've ever seen. It's just bad.
Max, this was my number 2.
Wait, to clarify, the sex doll show is not a reality show. No, that matters because I'm gonna go against the grain. There is good content.
Name me some good reality content on Quibi.
Reality content? I'm not going for the reality content. Just that you threw in the dummy show, that's not reality. I think you should push that aside.
That's
I'm
fair.
no on this.
That's fair. It's more a matter of I can't remember any other show because I just wiped them all from my memory. So there's one that's like the movie Pay It Forward, except Haley Joel Osment is not in it.
Yeah, Chain of Gratitude.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, just like we watched like 7 mini reality shows, and like 4 or 5 of them were absolute garbage. They were just garbage. The others were very just meh, but like it deserves to be on the bottom. Like Quibi, you throw money at it, you got garbage. You gotta do something different.
It is insane to me that like we tried 7 different shows. I was expecting at least one to be like fine or make me laugh. Not really. It didn't happen.
Rob, you suggested one that like you discovered the week later that was way better. What was that one?
Way better. There's some strong things there, but
relatively speaking,
I did watch all 8 episodes of Elba versus Block, and I would recommend if you're gonna watch any Quibi reality show, that would be the one I'd recommend over the Thanks a Million Chain of Gratitude show.
Yeah, like Harrison burned all those, so.
Oh yeah, those are great.
Rob, I think you have also a number 2.
I do have a number 2, and it's a nice segue from Quibi because we basically watched the 7-minute version of the show on Quibi. Prank Encounters.
Oh yeah.
So this was the what's his name? Dustin from Stranger Things does a version of Punk'd, but it's just incredibly terrible. And he's in the control room, and you're supposed to believe he's making these decisions, manipulating things, but he's definitely not. And it's just so bizarre. There's like 4 interesting minutes in like the 60-minute episode, and it's hilarious because in Quibi we watched Punk'd, and it was literally the exact same setup, but it was only 7 minutes long, which was still not good, but was better than Prank Encounters.
It was literally the exact same setup.
Exactly the same.
This was my number 3. So, has anyone else not been mentioning if they've had more like things come up at lower numbers?
I think we probably all have a number 1.
I still have a number 2.
I still do as well. But
yeah.
you know what
James
I'm realizing with this, Chris, is I have somehow managed to miss a lot of these pods with a lot of the crap that you guys had to deal with. So thank you. Thank you guys for getting through that without me.
What I can say about my bottom 5 is that they're all garbage.
Oh,
Like, they're not just
100%.
boring. They're just garbage. So like when you say this show's boring, I get it. I've just watched so many of these. There's at least 5 of them that are just garbage.
I mean, Prank Encounters is garbage.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like Annabeth, what do you got for number 2?
Okay, I've got what I think is going to be a controversial one for number 2, but I put down I'm with Boosie. Boosie.
Busey. Oh,
Like Gary
great
Busey?
show.
Well, I think my hatred of this show perhaps partially comes out of the fact that I am not and am still not, or like I was not and I'm still not familiar with who this person is, this actor.
You're not familiar with Gary Busey at all?
I don't think I looked it up last night because I was putting my list together and I was like maybe now I should know who this is. I don't think I've seen any movie with him. And so this show is about some dude who I guess idolizes him and then wants to like make this documentary where he like follows him around and learns from him. And I found it deeply unsettling. I could not tell if this man was putting on a personality or if like it was a bit or if it was like really him. And it really upset me, and it's in the bottom.
Okay, so there are some good ones immediately from the IMDb page. Like, we got Lethal Weapon, we got Point Break. Like,
We
should
gotta
really-
we gotta do Point Break as the non-reality pod in the season 5. I think that's gotta happen.
Here's a question for people who are like familiar with him. Will I like this reality show more if I watch a
No.
movie? Okay.
No,
because
so, yeah, like he was a decent celebrity in the 80s and 90s, but then he became more known just for being chaotic. And then he was on Celebrity Apprentice, which then even got him back in the mainstream a little bit. And then from there, he got to do his own spin-off. But he's more famous for being crazy rather than his real acting work.
Yeah, if you want to get really into it, you might have to watch that Celebrity Apprentice season and see how he works then.
I just don't know if I want to get really into it. I was repulsed by this episode of television.
I think the ultimate Gary Busey thing was his Fire TV commercial. That was pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But Annabelle, what you're describing about man, this guy, and is this a bit or what's going on? It's so strange. That's why this show is good. It's so this definitely is kind of my corner of weird older reality shows that were not as much on rails and kind of go off in weird directions. Definitely is something that I found doing this podcast is something that appeals to me a lot. So sometimes old reality shows that are kind of strange really are get into my top third that way.
So
I totally get that, and I think I expected to like this more, but I felt like I was not in on the bit enough, and therefore I hated it.
You got to be in on the bit. That's true.
Yeah.
So Annabeth, you didn't like the cross-dressing? No.
Nope.
James, you have a number 2 still?
I do. It is too hot to handle. This show is too terrible and a pile of garbage. Let me tell you. Something about a bunch of 10 of the hottest singles who are notorious for, swiping right. I don't know. It's basically they all just want to hook up. They get on the show only to find out that at midnight, this notorious midnight rolls around. Some crazy Alexa robot type thing, imitation, is going to be like, yo, y'all can't do shit. If you do, you're going to get a bunch of deductions. So have fun. And I just couldn't get into this at all. The people are the worst people that I want nothing to ever do or observe or anything about. And so this show is terrible garbage. There you have it.
To be fair, if you were thinking about these are all terrible people, you could just think of this like a punishment. This is
To
just their
watch?
hell.
Why would I want to watch that? It's a
It's
punishment
just
for
not
me.
enjoyable to
You-
watch.
It's just like Justice Boner, man. You're watching it to get off based on their
No,
Their
this show
sorrow.
doesn't give you jack to get off with.
James,
Literally.
yeah.
I watched every episode of the show, and I completely agree with you. It's garbage.
Why did you torture yourself, Max? Please explain. Oh my god, I'm sorry, dude. Why did you do it?
I kind of was hoping, you and I started off at wildly different areas. You were bottom of the bottom. I was 4, maybe it'll get more entertaining. It really didn't, man. I kept watching, hoping it would, but it didn't.
Man.
James, if you weren't aware, I gave that show a middle third, and then I watched another episode and a half, I think, and then I went right to the bottom. It was garbage. The people were bad. The gimmick was bad. I'm surprised it didn't make my bottom 5, to be honest.
That's what I'm surprised is does nobody else have this in their bottom?
So the unfortunate thing is that this unfortunately doesn't reflect updates. So maybe if it was an update thing, then we could.
What do you
It
mean
would've
doesn't
been
reflect
made-
updates? You don't have. You can give the ask was put your top 5 worst shows. What do you
Yeah,
mean
I forgot
updates?
about it.
You don't have
You
to.
don't have to go from the data point.
Well, James, when you go through the spreadsheet and you're looking for the ones you gave bottom third, it can get overlooked in the.
Yeah.
In
I mean, that's fair. I did do that filter.
I did that as well. I definitely just went, okay, here's all my 1s and 3s, and then
Okay,
filter
Brian,
went from that.
quick fire. Is there a show on your bottom 5 you want to swap out right now on the spot for this show?
I mean, it's
I
already
said quick fire.
It might be my number 2 and number 1. That's shitty. That
Yeah. Okay, we're getting somewhere.
yeah.
All right, think about it. Think about it, Brian.
Okay.
Anyone else have a number 2 yet to go? Everyone else is number 1. So everyone else has a unique number 1, I'm assuming. And I'm guessing a lot of them are probably the same one because it was that bad.
Oh, I hope it's all you think there's a unanimous number 1?
I don't think so because not everyone was on the pod, but I'm assuming a lot of them are. I Get That a Lot, which is my number one worst show, like bottom of the barrel of this season, like not even close to even what. Like, this is a show where celebrities pretended to not be themselves, and then they tried to trick people into thinking it's not them, but then surprise them it was them. Like, what fucking garbage is this? Just don't do this. Whoever produced it, decided the ideas, needs to be fired. Get it out of here.
So
Chris.
Go ahead, Max.
This was also in my top 5 worst shows. It didn't make my number 1, and here's why. There was one segment on that show which is good, which is the Alex Trebek segments. That saved it from number 1 worst.
Garbage.
Yeah, I had this pretty far down. I had this as my 3rd worst. I'm gonna keep a quick tally. Did anyone else have this as their number 1 worst?
I also had it as my number 1 worst. This show was just absolutely terrible. And but Chris, I will disagree with one thing you said of the concept. I think the concept has potential and was executed in unbelievably terribly. Because we talked about Emmy helped us compile the lists and know which ones to skip. She's like, "What's this? I Get That a Lot." And I was trying to explain to her. She's like, "That kind of sounds good." I was like, "No, it's not. It's really not." But there's something like when we heard the idea, we're like, "We got to watch this show. This show sounds fun," and it's not, and it's broken. But there's potential for a good show in there, and this is an absolutely horrible show.
Rob, I see what you say. Like, the idea sounds good.
It does.
Like, it sounds good. I get it. But like, in all reality, when you're watching something like that, and like, it's just not good. Like, I understand maybe you get like the best producer in the world can do it. I don't know. But until I see somebody do it better, I'm gonna go with the idea's bunk. Get it out of here. Anyway, who else has a number 1 that? All right, everyone else. All right, Max, you go.
Somebody else can go first.
All right, Annabeth, what do you got?
I got Bush Family Brews.
Great choice.
Ooh, that was my number 2.
I thought this show was just nothing. It follows like a family of people, and they're like living in their house for the summer and like hanging out. There's this one guy, Gussie, who's like adds a little bit of fire, but like there's really nothing. There's no point. I don't care about any of the people. I don't care about what they're doing. It was like so slow and boring and weird, and I hated it.
Yeah, this was my 3rd worst show, and it was just the worst of MTV garbage you could imagine. Like, they're trying to do, look at this interesting family and all their drama, and nothing about it is interesting at all.
Yeah, this is my 4th worst show, and it's the worst output of trying to do like a Vanderpumps meets the Kardashians, and it just doesn't go together.
This family just is not interesting in any way, shape, or form.
It's a bad blend, making my top worst 5.
Brian, what do you got?
I'm gonna put it above that simply because it is very similar to that Chrisley show. It is not as bad.
Did anyone have it as their number 1 as well? Okay.
No. Harrison, what do you got for us?
My worst show of this season was The Bachelor Presents, Listen to Your Heart.
Yeah.
I can see
Wow.
that.
Man, do I not like the Bachelorverse. And this is a weird Bachelorverse spinoff in which everyone who comes to the Bachelor Mansion is a musician. And all the things that they try and do kind of date-wise are sort of musically related. And it's like watching Bachelor the Musical, and it's just it's brutal to watch. Yeah, it's the worst show we saw this season.
Is it better than BIP?
Oh, man. No.
There's no bartender.
It's the same show.
It's not better than BIP. Because it's based on this weird music. Like, it is based on, they admit to it in the show that, like, they based the entire show on like A Star Is Born, and they were basically trying to capture this magical, romantic, like musical moment. And I don't know.
Maybe they did though. We just didn't see all of it.
Yeah, maybe it was amazing. Maybe I'll watch the 3-hour finale and see.
You won't.
Like a
Maybe.
time.
I definitely considered this for my bottom 5. It didn't make the cut. Paradise Hotel was my representative of bad love bip shows, but Listen to Your Heart was a contender for sure.
Hey Rob, do you have statistics on how many of these Love Island-esque shows we watched this season? I feel like we must have done like 5.
All right,
We've watched so many love
Possibly
shows.
more.
It was
I'll have
Love Month
I'll
for
have
a
it
year.
for the stats section.
All right.
Hey,
No,
I'm also just gonna throw out really quick. There's a lot of love shows in these bottom buckets. I'm just pointing that out. That is a fact of the matter.
Speak for yourself.
What do you mean? No, you are all speaking, and you have all these love shows in the bottom. This is not a James thing. This is a who put this on. You are unanimously deciding that we should not do love anymore. We gotta
James.
move on
No,
from the love.
mine only has. Actually, mine has one.
Mine also only has one.
I'm
James.
just saying, there's a lot of love shows coming up.
All right, Noah, what is your number one worst show?
There was one show I watched that I had to stop. I couldn't keep watching it. I ended up finishing it like hour later, but I literally could not get through it. And that is Yummy Mummies.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Really?
And that's my bar of it. Is just like I just couldn't get through it. The reasons for it, there was nothing unique about it. It's overly produced, which I don't like. And the music, they really push on you throughout it and trying to build up the fake suspense and drama just really tipped it over the edge for me. I do like the Australian accents, which is nice, but that wasn't enough to save it.
I don't think that made anyone else's bottom list, but
It did. I made my third.
It
Number
deserved
3.
to make mine.
all right. Well, Emmy's upset with you, and I don't think she'll ever talk to you again. Brian, what is your number one?
So I've been thinking about this whole like rebase of what was that show? Too Hot to Handle. It might be a tie between Marriage Rescue and Too Hot to Handle. And so I actually went back and like rewatched a lot of these shows to like make sure that like, oh, these ratings are solid. And I could find something redeeming about like all of these. Bush Family Brews, very happy. Yummy Mummies, it's got some good burn action. Marriage Rescue is just fucking bad all around. Like John Taffer is not qualified for shit. And these people are just like, I'm on this show for a vacation. And they're probably fake fighting and it's bullshit. It is so boring and terrible. And I also looked up to see if it got a second season. It has not been picked up again for a second season. It's also on this shitty network called Paramount. Get rid of it.
So Brian,
I
is
got
that your
you back
final
on
answer?
that
Just
one.
to
I put
confirm.
that as number 2 for me for the same reasons.
Got it. No,
Great
Brian.
choice.
Brian, is that your worst show for the official
I can't-
tally?
I can't decide between Too Hot to Handle and Marriage Rescue. Like they're
You got to pick.
I guess
one.
I guess it's also a love show. I forgot. No, Too Hot to Handle like still has the sexiness factor. I'm seeing sexy people. Like that's a plus.
Man, the sex really,
All
really
right.
saved that.
So
one.
Marriage Rescue, Brian's number one bad show of the year.
Mine was my number 5, Brian. So I'm on the same wavelength. At least
I
although
literally looked at just redeeming factors. There's nothing about this.
it took me a while because I was like, "What was this show?" Because we watched it like a year ago, almost at this point. So to be in my bottom 5 from a year ago, you got to be bad.
Yeah.
James, you have a number 1 yet?
I certainly do. It is a terrible bait and switch show, hosted by none other than Kristen Bell. Encore. Terrible. Now, hear me out. If you're a fan of High School Musical, I'm sure that you love the shit out of this show. If you don't care about musicals, you've never seen High School Musical, this show is not for you, don't click play. Don't get fooled by the Kristen Bell cover art. She ain't in this show more than like 20 seconds. Run away as fast as you can. Bored out of my mind. Don't care. Throw it in the dumpster.
All right. Thanks, James. Max, what is your worst show?
So mine is, I think, 5+ months old. So I'm going to give you guys a little slideshow to remind you. My show is called Rap Battle.
Oh,
Yeah, I remember.
So as you can see in the screenshot, it's about people wrapping presents. It's one of these by the numbers, like sort of Food Network, like, okay, on 3, everybody run to your station and do the fun thing that our show's about. 3, 2, 1, go. 30 minutes later, all right, show us what you got. It does literally nothing different. It's so by the numbers. I hate it. It's really bad. Also, there's this guy on it who I really hate. Look at him. I really don't like this guy. Anyway, yeah, that's Rap Battle on Free Fork. Don't
Max?
Why are you plugging the network? Don't watch it. Run away.
Max, that was my 5th worst. So good
Great
choice.
That was
Yeah.
also my 5th worst. It's terrible.
yeah.
So, to categorize the worst show of Who Put This On for season 4, we have a winner, kind of, unless we want to go through a voting process, which is, I get that a lot because there were 2 votes for number 1. And that seems fair to me, unless anyone wants to really object to that.
I think that wins.
I mean, that was my second worst. Like, it's yeah.
There were 2 number 1s, but there was a good contingent of seconds and thirds also. I think Bush Family Brood also had some strong supports. That might be the other one to think about, but it was my number 1 too, so I'm happy with I get that a lot
Yeah,
being the overall worst.
And Marriage Rescue had a couple of nominations throughout the top 5.
We need
I'm just
to,
happy that I missed the number 1 right now. I did not watch Get That a lot.
Yeah.
It made my
happy.
number 3
Be happy if you have
worse,
not
so.
watched it. Don't watch it. Don't hate watch it. It's just bad.
Is it the official? I think it's the official
It
I think
worst
it's
show
the
of the
official.
season.
Welcome to the Hall of Fame. I get that a lot.
Great job. I get that a lot.
Guy Fieri did it again.
I feel like we need to make some sort of like best and worst shrine and like do something.
we need a website, some sort of Who Put This On Hall of Fame,
Oh yeah, I like it.
reality show Hall of Fame, maybe.
We could get Little John to partner with us.
That's right.
Go hit us up.
So is now the time to talk about whether this is the worst show all time on Who Put This On?
Yeah,
It's not.
I don't think it is.
I also don't think it is.
Does
That's in those
anyone,
best.
does
What
anyone
are the
think it
options?
is?
What was, wait. What was this bit, Harrison? You just out of nowhere, you're like, hey,
Yeah, we-
you want to talk
we
about this
always-
thing?
We always talk about it.
Every season when we pick the worst show, we have to compare it to the previous season's worst shows to know what the worst show of all time is.
Yeah, so you tee it up, and then you're like, but we shouldn't do this. What the hell is wrong with you?
No.
We should do it. I just don't think that this show is the worst show we've ever done.
Harrison is just showing his support for the terribleness that is the Celebrity Apprentice.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so we're sticking.
mean-
okay, so sorry, I misinterpreted it. I thought you were asking if we want to have, if like now is the time to have the conversation, and then you're like,
Yeah.
no, it's not. I'm like, well, why are we talking about it?
No,
But
we're currently
anyways,
having a conversation.
You just don't want. You're just saying that this is not the overall worst. To clarify.
Yeah, I think that Celebrity Apprentice is worse than this show.
What
What
are
about Kristen Knows Best?
Worse
For sure.
since we watched it.
Is anyone gonna overthrow Harrison's ruling here?
No,
We're sticking with it.
Celebrity Apprentice is still the worst.
top of the Hall of Fame for the
Right.
worst show of all time. We gotta get that website going, Chris.
All right, guys, ready for the top? Your favorite reality shows of the season?
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
Get
Hopefully
that-
more happy tones this time.
Get
instead
that
of
palate cleanser.
some sort of angry tones that we've been having so far.
Before we get to that, does anybody have any special mentions that almost made it to the lowest?
I mean, most of mine that I considered were said by other people. So.
Same for me.
One thing that no one mentioned that was like literally number 6 for me was You versus Wild. That show was really bad, and
Yeah.
the only reason it really didn't make my bottom 5 was because it's a questionable reality show, so I kind of kept it off the list. But
That
it
was- Yeah, that was close for me too.
Halloween Wars was also really bad.
That's another
Like-
rap battle type thing.
Yeah, but it's slightly better than Rap Battle. There's some minutia we can get into if we get into the stats, but I figured we'd save the stats for the end.
Yeah, let's save
Yeah.
the stats for the end. Let's do our tops. Everyone, for you guys on the audio, we're all on video now, so raise your hands if you've got a 5. James, give us your fifth.
Best show.
Yeah, I got it. Not to be confused with when we started the first segment where I wanted to go with this one. Now it's properly in my fifth best show of the season, and it is Beauty and the Geek. I thought that this show was very endearing. It was really an interesting take. I went in with bad expectations of like, oh, this is gonna be another, dumpster fire rager, dumb love story thing that I won't care about. But I was pleasantly surprised. I will say I have not watched any more of it, but mostly because I think I just forgot. But this was a good reminder as I was combing through my tops that I really enjoyed that. So maybe I'll give it a go during Quarantino time.
Quick time. James, did you just put a love show in your top 5?
Can you believe it?
We got to keep doing them then.
This is a show about love and self-improvement.
Yes.
Annabeth, I feel like you really enjoyed the show when we were watching it. Did it not make your top 5?
Yeah, this was like on the verge of my top 5. I almost put it in there, and I don't know if I made the right choice because I really liked this show. But I think what kept it out is like I have not watched more of it, but I need to watch more of it because I think at some point I will, and I will love it, and then it will be to the top.
Very similar, yeah. Cool.
All right.
There you have it.
So Noah, you got a 5.
Yeah. Coming in at the bottom of the best, Dating Around. For those of you that don't remember, that's the Netflix show where they go on like seemingly 3 simultaneous like first dates, and they whittle it down, and finally they choose who they want to go on a second date with. I really like the production of the show. I like that they tried to pretend that it's like the same place to normalize the variables, and I also like that they had a lot of mixed couples going on the show, which kept it like interesting. They didn't go for just like the cookie cutter like washboard abs and like big tits. Like they're like pretty diverse people, which we don't get a lot on the reality shows. So that's why I put it in the bottom of the 5. Top 5.
All right, Noah. Anyone else? No one else has a 5, right? So 4s. Anyone have a 4? James, you got a 4. Go ahead.
I got a 4. Another one that I stumbled in some more videos last night and was like, oh, I gotta watch some more of this show. How have I not? It's only because it's on the Discovery Channel, which is a little harder to like stream and stuff. But it is Diesel Brothers. This show is fun. It's a good time if you're, I'd say, interested at least a little bit into some cars and like modifications and that sort of thing. But these guys take diesel trucks to the next level. Last night I watched them turn a 6x6 diesel pickup into an off-road behemoth with like gigantic snow treks. And it's like a one-of-a-kind build that's never been done before. It was very impressive engineering. And so like I feel like the show's just really fun. The characters are kind of interesting from a reality character perspective. It's kind of got that Gearhead, Motorhead kind of vibe. So if you're into that stuff at all. And then the engineering aspects I also really appreciate because they're like a lot of cases they're just fabricating net new stuff that's never been done before. And overall just really impressive. Fun show, would recommend. Discovery, can you make your network a little easier to stream? That would be thanks.
Is that not the show? Is that not going on HBO Max? Like all Discovery bullshit?
Who knows?
Oh. All right, Brian. What is your number 4?
My number 4 is Tiny House Nation.
Oh.
Good show.
So I've actually watched a bunch of that show, and it also spoke to me a lot because I've been like hunting for a house for a little bit. So I was like, oh, what kind of cool stuff are they doing? It's got a little bit like that Mythbusters vibe where like, oh, you want us to make this happen? Let's make it happen. And then people are just like really happy. It's a very uplifting show. So, I mean, like my top 5.
It's definitely up there for me too. I just like watching people pick tiny houses because I think they're crazy. But then you get the aspect of them actually making cool stuff. So
yeah, stuff that will never be repaired ever. Once it breaks, it's done. But it's fine.
Hopefully, it breaks down or away. Harrison, I believe you also had a 4.
I do. My number 4 best show is The Colony, which was a pretty great show about people living in. They're basically in this social experiment about living in a post-apocalyptic world. So there's kind of all these people of different occupations that are holed up in this warehouse, and then they have to kind of take on all these different projects and stuff to try and survive in this post-apocalyptic scenario. And it's really good. And obviously, I've seen the whole season multiple times at this point. And yeah, it's a good show.
I will also add, I really enjoyed the engineering aspects of that show. There's a lot of building and fabrications and like, you know, whether it's making a shower or making electricity happen, just some really cool and like interesting stuff.
It just made me feel like if there was an actual apocalypse, I would be effectively useless to build any of these things.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put this in my top 2. It was really cool. And I think maybe because of the pandemic now, I've been thinking about it a lot. And if I could build anything, if I needed to.
Yo,
And the answer is no. But it was a super cool show, and it felt kind of not like a reality show. It felt like either sort of an educational show or sort of like a dystopian sci-fi movie.
Yo, we totally got to build that water filtration system. We got to go to Home Depot, get a bunch of sand and different kind of rocks, a bunch of big, 50-gallon drums.
Sounds like James just wants to build a beach.
Oh, I like build a beach idea. I'm on board. You got to build a private beach though, because the time.
No one else has any 4s, correct? So move on to 3. Anyone have a 3? All right, Rob, we haven't heard from you yet. What is your number 3?
All right, are you ready for this? I'm with Busey.
Oh.
Get out of here!
man.
I've watched multiple more episodes of I'm with Busey. The second episode was even better than the first episode, when at one point the Adam legitimately seems to think Gary Busey's trying to light him on fire and seems legitimately upset about this. It is just, it's a fantastic, like, weird, Gary Busey doing weird Gary Busey stuff show, and it's super entertaining.
I think this is a first. I don't think we've ever had a show both in the best and the worst before.
No, I think it's season 1 or 2 we did.
Last season, Max had Documental in his top 5, and James had it as his worst show.
Terrible
Well,
crap.
James is just an idiot.
Yeah, we'll see.
Oh,
You're the one watching a
Fight
bunch of
words.
dummies locked in a room put, balloons on their head.
And showing the jets. Can't
Also,
forget that.
Rob, my hat is off to you, sir. Hell of a poker face. You were even kind of guiding during that, and you never gave it away. I was none the wiser to just now, and it was wonderful.
Thank you,
Max,
James. I tried.
I believe you have a number 3.
Yeah, my number 3 was 90 Day Fiance The Other Way. I watched a lot of this. I think it really satisfied what I was looking for in a reality show, which is insane people in insane situations that any normal person clearly knows is fucked up. Yeah, it was good. It was nice. It was short. Loved it.
Max,
Sure.
that was my number 4.
It was I think like 15 episodes.
There's like 20 episodes, dude. And they were all like an hour long. It was
Yeah,
actually-
well, short is the incorrect description.
Time flies when you're having fun, Max.
Exactly. Thank
Yeah.
you.
That was a runner-up for me. I want like shows I watched a lot of, made it pretty far into the list, but didn't quite make the top 5.
Number
who
5
else
for
has
me.
a number 3? Brian, what do you got?
So along Harrison's lines, my number 3 was Alone. I don't know if anybody else has watched any of that, but like the idea that like you're surviving a lot in the wilderness, like, and you have to survive in order to get this money, which nobody's gotten, by the way, is phenomenal. Like, it's Survivor taken to the max, and I love the idea of it. It's just unfortunately on the History Network, which is not easy to watch, but it's still a fun show.
Yo, History makes some good content.
They really do. They got my Forge and Fire, Knife for Death. They're crushing it with stuff.
That's a hell of a title. They had me interested just by the title.
All right, Noah, what do you got?
I'll just say Brian Alone was my number 5.
Oh,
So good choice.
Nice. Coming in at number 3 for me, we have Mrs. Amy Poehler and the guy formerly known as Ron Swanson coming in and making it. So I really like the show. I think you have some really good, like, just pure craftsmen and craftswomen on the show. I like the little joke segments that they do on the side. Yeah, just generally enjoyable.
That was my number 5 show, Noah. So I'm on the same page. It's very positive. The other bits for fun. I thought it was really fun to watch. So
It was a delightful show.
delightful.
I didn't know about the show, and I might check it out.
Now you know. I believe we're on to number 2, unless anyone else has a 3. Harrison, do you have a number 3?
I do. My third favorite show of the season was Lego Masters.
Oh, that was my number 4.
I was gonna say I can't believe no one else had this, but yeah, Lego Masters. Yeah, it was just a really, really entertaining, really kind of delightful show. I thought that Will Arnett was an incredible host. Annabeth is tired of hearing me talk about how much I like Will Arnett being a host on Lego Masters, but like he just kind of sets this whole weird and funny tone for the show. Like, I mean, I really do think that like he is kind of what sets this apart from being just another generic like competition reality show. And just like the Lego creations and stuff are super, super cool. Yeah.
I think an aspect of the show though is that they give them like 20 hours to do something.
Oh yeah,
you
they
get
give them
really good craftsmanship out of something that they let them do for 20 hours versus like 30 minutes.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think that's maybe an unintended consequence of that, but I don't know. I think that it makes the builds at the end very cool to look at and very fun. So that's just like it's a very fun show to watch. So that's why it's in my top 5 as well.
I found
So,
it funny that like you explicitly mentioned like Will Arnett. Like that was the one reason why I kept it out of the top 5. It kind of felt like they just played. They gave him lines and he just like played to that. Like it was just cookie cutter Will Arnett, like what he's been typecast.
I mean, like, I have no idea if they're giving him lines or it's him, but I think that, like, I don't know, it's just, like, it's the style and the humor they brought to it. I think that, like, unlike a lot of reality hosts, he actually, like, when he would talk to the contestants, it seemed like he kind of cared about them at least a little bit and, like, had like, a really good kind of, like, rapport there. And I don't know, I thought he was doing good for the show.
That's a fair point. I didn't really consider, like, the emotional aspect there. So, it's a good show.
I'll say, Brian, I only watched one episode, but Will Arnett wasn't doing it great for me either. So I'll back you up.
I watched more of it though, like, and the more I watched it, the more I was like, this is just his character from Arrested Development, and
maybe that's why I liked it.
But at the same time, like, I just wanted to like just feed something else. I don't know. I wanted more. I want Will Arnett to not be like Liam Neeson right now.
I just think that like it's you know. It's pretty goofy for this kind of show, and I'm just happy that they went with that tone at least.
Yeah, I'm gonna go that they're definitely feeding him lines, but he still has to deliver them. And the fact that the Lego builders were doing like 15-hour, 20-hour builds, by far for that type of show, they have the most stamina and of any other show of similar nature that we watched.
Unlike the stamina people, I'm too hot to handle.
Who else has a 2? We're on 2s now. Anyone have a 2? Max, give us your second best show.
As one of the only people on this podcast without a grill, I loved Barbecue Pitmasters.
Oh.
It's on like some weird channel, like America Navigation America or something.
Destination America.
Yeah, there you go.
Brings you Barbecue Pitmasters, Ultimate All-Star, Grandmasters Grill Champions.
Presented by Kingstone.
Kingston.
It's a nice self-contained barbecuing competition show. It's just every episode has 3 people, and that's it. There's no season long thing. It's great. It's super watchable. It moves. They do like 3 separate cooks. James has a comment.
So it is a season-long competition where they whittle through. So towards the end, it is a bracket structure. The winners from earlier episodes do make a return in a semifinals, and then later in a finals for a head-to-head Pitmasters Ultimate Grill-Off.
Got it. Okay. Nonetheless, the reason I say sort of standalone is you can just jump into an episode and you don't really need to give a shit about the rest of the season. It was great. It was really fun. Yeah.
Love this show, clearly. Learned a bunch, get you into grilling, learn all kinds of like techniques and interesting things, flavor profiles. I have not used paprika anymore. To clarify, I always use paprika now, purely from this show. It has taught me the ways of the magic of paprika.
Yeah. This show it completely transformed James's life.
This show's great.
I'm actually shocked this is not James's number one.
Yeah.
I was sure.
Me
this was coming
too.
to number one.
My top 3 is stacked. This is only coming in at number 3 for me, and I'm telling you right now, it's stacked. It's fully loaded at the top 3 bucket.
I mean, to be fair, there's another show that I would have said the same thing. I can't believe this isn't James's number one. So we'll see if that is the actual number one.
There you have it. Stay tuned. Only number 3. 2 more surprises to go.
Who else has a number 2? Brian?
My number 2 is The Circle. It might have like dropped based on like the current life situation, but when I still think about the show, it's a very wholesome show. Everybody's like looking for connections. Everybody's like very happy, and they're thinking about kindness and being respectful, and they're just trying to drop like people who are trying to be fake and like lie to them. So it's a little like real life, and I love the fact that like they're still like willing to party like amongst themselves, just like on a text chat. So that's why I put it like so high. It's a very wholesome show, and I've also like checked out some of the Circle Brazil and like the Circle from France, and like they still fit those same themes. I just don't know the full strategy though.
I have The Circle as my number 3 show. I agree. I think it's a really fun, upbeat, positive, just kind of like really interesting show. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I also have this Circle in my top 5. I thought it was really, really interesting. I've never seen a show like it. And they cast it really well. I think all the people were super different and like communicated really differently, but like watching them like navigate each other's relationships was like a joy. It was very fun.
This was number 5 for me. I think my favorite weird thing about the show was 2 catfishes trying to catfish each other, and neither of them behaves like a human being does. Like, it's so clearly obvious that whoever's on the other side is not who they say they are. It was great. I loved it.
All right, Harrison, you have a number 2. What is it?
My number 2 show is Top Chef.
Oh.
Top Chef is like an all-time favorite reality show for me, for sure. I've been watching Top Chef for a long time, and this season that we watched for the pod is basically like an all-star season. So it's been like a really, really good season to watch, and it's got, you know, people from like all these different seasons that I like, and it's just like they kind of invented the format for this sort of reality cookie or like reality competition, like skill-based competition kind of thing, and they were like really early on with that, and yeah, it's just always impressive to me to see these people who can do these insane cooking challenges and come out with something that's good. So, and yeah, and also, unlike most cooking shows, there is like a house drama aspect to it, because all of the chef testants are all living in a house together. So it's not just they're showing up and doing their business and then they're going to a hotel and you never see them. Like, you're getting to see some of that house drama too, which is very good.
I love how casually you just tossed in chef testants.
Yeah, chef testants.
That's what they are, James. Come on. Anyone else have a number 2? All right, so on to number 1s. I'm going to go first. I'm not sure this is my favorite show this season. I really struggled with my top 5 this year, surprisingly. But I really enjoyed the show when we watched it. I binge watched the whole season, I think, in like a day. So Instant Hotel is my number 1 show this season. It was just really fun to see Australia and see these people be catty and like go like just pretty much virtually visit Australia without actually going there. And I just really thought it was a really fun show. So I don't have a whole lot to say about it, but I the whole theme of my top 5 this season has just been fun and enjoyable, and like kind of uplifting. The show's not super uplifting sometimes, but generally it's a really fun show. So that's why it's my number one.
I'll
I'm
jump
right there
in and
with you,
say that
Chris.
was my number 2 show. And I think it's interesting that both shows where we went to the Gold Coast in Australia ended in either the top 5 or the bottom 5. So it seems like a winning idea, one way or the other, to be on the Gold Coast. But yeah, Instant Hotel was super fun and interesting.
I think I got Brianed on this one, where I must have not rated the show in the top when we did it, because it somehow missed my radar. But I love this show. I watched the entire season, and I've watched other seasons. It's a great show.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
It
Stuck
right
to
in the
cracks.
middle. It was Bailey did not make her top.
It got
Top
better.
of the middle, James.
Oh
I
man,
mean,
it was a
that's what happened.
borderline.
So
Can I-
as somebody
I can
who only
upgrade
watched
it.
the first episode, my understanding is it gets much better as people learn how to play the game.
Yeah,
Oh.
show definitely gets a bunch better.
Okay.
I
I think
actually
Chris has some thought.
coming up with this list, I was like, oh yeah, I never finished season 2, so I started watching season 2.
Nice.
All right, Max, you want to go next?
I'm sorry, guys. It was a low-hanging fruit. My number one show this season was, you love it, I love it, it's Shark Tank.
I
Nice.
assume that
How many others? Raise your hand.
how
if
many
you have
people
it.
has a number one? You, Noah, Harrison, Annabeth.
So
That's
3.
4 people.
Oh, number
Oh,
3
that's
for
my
her.
number 3.
Oh, you're number 3. Okay.
No.
So
Who
for
has
Noah,
it
it's
as a
number
number
one?
one?
For Harrison, also number one?
Oh, it was
There
also
you
my
go.
number 2.
Nice.
No, I just want number ones. Damn it! Forgot how to host. Come on.
Uh,
So we've got 3 number ones to clarify
Yeah.
for the tally of officialness. Okay.
So James, this is not your number 1?
This is not.
This is the other
Oh,
one
no,
that
no,
I'm
no,
like,
no, no,
I'm
no,
sure
no.
this is James's
I
number
told
1.
you.
Yeah.
Hey, I told you. My top 3 is stacked.
I know
This
it
is coming in
James's number
as number
one.
2.
James's number one has 4
We'll
words
get
in it.
to it. We'll get to it.
Four
All right,
words.
Max, tell us
Shark Tank. Go.
about Shark Tank. Why is that your number 1?
Shark Tank is the champion of television that if you're stuck at your parents' place, you can just sit down and watch, and they'll like it, and you'll like it, and there's not an issue. Basically, there are 2 shows that do this. Shark Tank, obviously, and if your parents are cool, American Ninja Warrior. If they're not cool, you guys should look Shark Tank.
Noah, you want to tell us why it's your number 1?
Yeah, very similar reason to Max, although I find it to be the perfect hotel show where, you get
Yes, yes.
yeah, it's like CNBC if some reason comes in the hotel and they have like 12 hours of Shark Tank. You don't want to scroll around with their shitty channel guide and remote and just like, fuck it. Just sticking with Shark Tank. And it's fun seeing all the inventors come on, and especially as the inventors have gotten better over the years. It's a high quality show. I actually wish they produced more of it. And they made the shows more regularly available on Hulu. They have a super tight window where it's like the last 4 shows and they get them out of there and then put them back up in the mouse.
No, it sounds like you gotta go international. There's all sorts of Shark Tanks.
Yeah, I haven't expanded my horizon, but I am
Just-
aware of that
There's probably like at least 6 other English language Shark Tanks.
for sure.
Dragon's Den was the OG, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Canada, Dragon's Den.
Yeah,
Harrison, give
Yeah.
us why it's number 1 for you.
Yeah, I mean, Shark Tank is absolutely one of my favorite reality shows. I think it's really, I personally don't get the opportunity to get pitched a bunch of different businesses and investments on a daily basis. And I think it's really fun to be able to put yourself in the shoes of the investors, listen to the pitches, say, but what are your sales, and whatever, and like just kind of try and kind of play along with it, see how they negotiate bullshit about what these companies are doing bad and what they're doing wrong, and it's just a fun show to kind of like play along with and be able to kind of chit chat about too.
Yeah, I mean, it was my number 2. I think that I agree with all your sentiments. It's kind of like an enjoyable watch when it's just on. I think that it portrays a little wrong, like how businesses. I just have a little more moral quandary with the show, which you should listen to our podcast more about. I get more into it, but it's just like the American dream is like what it's selling, and that's just like not a real thing. So like That's why it's not number one. It would be number one, I think, if it didn't have I didn't have this like moral thing going on with it. Max, what would you like to say?
We have misled our viewership. The original one was not from Canada. It was originally in Japan. It was called The Tigers of Money.
Oh, whoa.
Whoa.
Whoa, good name.
All right, Rob, what is your number one show?
My number one show, let me just say, America Loves Trucks. And we got Truck Night in America on the History Channel.
Yeah.
Nothing history about it. Great reality shows on the History Channel. I watched the whole season of Truck Night in America. I just think it's a really great show that's sort of entertaining. It knows what it is and leans into its strengths. It doesn't try to be what it's not. It kind of has like, James was talking about the fun of watching them build the trucks. This is watching the trucks possibly get destroyed, which I guess is more what my interest lies. And I do have to also bring things a little bit of a downer note. There's been no season 3, and I looked it up. One of the coaches has passed away in an ATV accident.
No.
So I don't know if there's going to be any more Truck Night in America in our lives, or if they're going to try to recast. But there you go. So Truck Night in America, hell of a show. Go find it on the History Channel.
Also, I'm going to nominate that pod as a top pod and a recommend it because it's a hot tub pod.
Yeah.
Also, plus one, I have never seen the show, and I always kind of like am worried when we are describing the show for our listeners, like, do we do a good job of explaining it? You guys really nailed it on Truck Night in America.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I
Forgot
feel
that
like
you
I was
missed
there
that
with
pod.
you in the hot tub.
That's what we were
hot
going
pod.
for. I think that was that our first recording from the hot tub?
Yeah, first of 2.
Yeah, that's always, it's going to hold a special place. That's a good one.
And that
All
was
right,
also
Annabelle.
right around 4th of July. So, we're really pumping up the USA with that.
Annabeth, what do you got as your favorite show of season 4?
Unfortunately, I wasn't there for the pod on this one, but this show holds like a very deep, warm place in my heart, which is RuPaul's Drag Race. It is an amazing show. I've seen many seasons, and I think, I don't know, it gets better like with time because like they reference past queens. It's so interesting. It's a competition show, but these drag queens are competing like in so many different elements. Like it's like making your own clothes and like acting and comedy and like all sorts of stuff. So it's a really interesting competition where you have to be good at so many things. And you also learn a lot about like the drag community, and like all these queens are talking about like they're all different ages, and they talk about like growing up as a gay person. And like it is a fascinating show. It's an amazing community. I have loved every season I've watched. There's like all this like they do this special behind the scenes like kind of like mini show that comes out after the real one every episode. So good. I love it a lot. So that's my top.
Yeah, I had that as my number 4 on the top. Very similar reasons. They do a great job at like inviting others into the community, then explaining a lot of the community, and then people on it are just super impressive. Like they're all around athletes, which is just cool to see.
James, we've been waiting in suspension here. We need to know, what is your favorite show of season 4?
Top of the stack 3. Are you ready? This is possibly the best show of all time. It's none other than Below Deck. Like, who you guys kidding? Below Deck. This season we watched Sailing Yacht. I'm getting to it, Chris. You gotta build it up. But I'm gonna go ahead and claim that Below Deck, the franchise, is the best TV reality show that we've ever done on this pod. All up, all 3 editions are great. You got the OG with Captain Lee. You got Mediterranean with Captain Sandy. And now this all new Sailing Yacht, 170-foot catamaran with like 3 gigantic sails. Quick shout out to Byron, the chief engineer, bringing the chief engineer role back. I had actually just recently watched season 1 of the OG, where there was way more people on the show, and they've certainly slimmed it down and done a little more focus. But this show is wonderful. You're getting out there, you're seeing these awesome like luxury yachts. You get all the aspects from like the different character rotations from the guests coming on, usually from a few nights to 2-3 nights, etc. You got the full crew and their entire story of them working together, living together, and somehow partying together. And it's constant. They're all living literally on the same boat. This show's great in every aspect. I highly recommend. Literally any season, you can't go wrong.
There you have it. No one else has it. James
I had it
Harrison
in
has it
my
as 5.
Number 5 for me.
I think I had it number 5.
Hell of a
No
show.
other number
I
ones.
think it was one of them.
James,
Really?
can you stack rank the 3 below decks? 1, 2, 3.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Top of the top.
So I think my first exposure to Below Deck was Mediterranean. So I feel like whatever the first season you watch, you kind of start to like that the best. But now having watched all 3 iterations, so I've seen this season of Sailing Yacht, which is only 1. I've seen the most 2 recent Mediterranean with Captain Sandy, and I've seen the most recent season and the season 1 of OG. I might have. Ooh, this is tough. Like, I think Captain Lee is the most interesting captain, so he is top of the captains. Sailing Yacht, in terms of the boat, is like the most interesting boat situation. And then in terms of cruise, man, that's a tough one. I will say, I think hands down it might be season 1 OG for best crew. It is bonkers from the get-go. There is this one stewardess named Kat. She is nonstop party. It is through the roof. I like this season. Some highlights. They're talking about there's a sexual harassment situation. There are multiple occasions of guests bringing on illicit drugs. We're talking like all sorts of stuff. Crazy encounters. People jumping off the boat. The crew, multiple occasions, breaking one of the only rules, which is don't drink while on duty. That happened multiple times in this season.
Spoilers, dude.
It's great. Hey, I didn't tell you anything else about it. I just said it happened. And I didn't give any names. Just the tease. It's probably in the trailer. So I don't know. It's pretty tough. But I guess 2 of the top of my categories went to the OG. So I guess therefore Captain Lee in the OG is the best of Below Deck series.
I enjoyed the breakdown. Thank you.
Everyone is given their best, correct? Oh, Brian.
I have one that I don't think is going to make it probably made some lower ones, but it's Final Table.
Yeah.
When that came out, I immediately binge watched it, and when we also watched Top Chef, I immediately compared it to Final Table. I recognized where Final Table got a lot of inspiration, but Final Table improved upon a lot of stuff. It kind of sucks that I don't think they're going to get a second season, though.
Final Table was my number 2. It was awesome. It was like quality of cooking I've never seen on TV before in any of these shows. It was so good.
Yeah, that was my number 6. It barely missed my top 5, but it was a really, really good show. And it's just a different level of cooking competition, just super high quality.
I also nearly put it in my top 5. Just missed the cut.
Similar to Annabeth, it was my number 2, and Final Table and Shark Tank are the only shows I think we've watched on the podcast where I've independently said I'm going to watch all these because I really like it. So very high.
What about Selling Sunset?
Selling Sunset I did watch, but it wasn't independent of I'm gonna go find that. We watched it. I was like, okay, there's something here. Let me go now check it out.
Okay.
So Noah, are you saying Selling Sunset's not your top 5?
We didn't watch it this season.
Oh, it's not this season. Oh,
It
sorry.
was last season, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
But we know what Noah's doing this weekend, though. New season came out. Or did you already watch it? It came out last weekend.
It did.
Oh, shit.
So everyone's top has been announced. It looks like Shark Tank is our number 1 show this season. No need for addendums or addendums to addendums. Shark Tank is it.
Dun 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 dun. But is it the overall best show of Who Bit the Song?
What's
this
the
is a
current
harder one.
overall best?
What is our competition again?
Rob, give it to us.
Married at First Sight.
Yes. The Challenge.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Jersey Shore Family Vacation.
Challenge hands
Oh
down.
boy.
Not even a
No,
contest.
it's not. It's not better than all three. of those.
Can I put Survivor
Really?
back on the table?
No, Chris, it didn't win the best of the season.
To be clear, the challenge is the current running best of best, right?
We debated between the challenge and Married at First Sight. We were really into Married at First Sight when we saw it in season 1. That was at simpler times in our reality history.
But we all know the real answer.
Hey, what
For
the
some
challenge
reason,
did
Noah is
last
showing
week.
me a picture of a shark.
I don't think challenge is like upholding its like good status. Like it's really fallen. Like they've like
Yeah.
went so far into drama and bullshit. It's not as fun as it once was. At least in my opinion.
Yeah,
They've
yeah.
had a couple episodes this season where
No.
format
It's
is
not.
bullshit.
It's every season that this happens. Don't try to like.
And
This is
It's
Rob's
been-
favorite
it's
part
been-
of watching Harrison go through the progression of the season. We're now entering the zone of some of that excitement starting to dip, and he's like, "Don't worry, it's gonna revive itself.
Yeah.
It's gonna come back."
I know it's gonna come back, but
Yeah.
at the same time, like Shark Tank is very steady. Like Married at First Sight, I don't care about.
Here's the counter argument: Shark Tank, you know exactly what you're gonna get. There's not gonna be a real surprise. Challenge, you never know what the shit's gonna happen.
The other thing I'd say about Shark Tank is like the other 3 shows are appointment television of like, oh, there's a new this, I need to go watch it. I think everyone, even when people put Shark Tank number 1, don't like, oh, there's a new Shark Tank tonight, I gotta watch it. It's there when kind of the opportunity comes. That feels like to be top of the top. That's not quite the right metric.
Completely agree.
I'm
So-
with Rob.
I'm just gonna go with say that my stack ranking here is Married at First Sight, then Shark Tank, and then the other 2 can probably Challenge, then Family Vacation, because Family Vacation's gotten pretty bad. But so my vote is for Married at First Sight.
Anybody joining Chris? Let's get those hands.
I mean, I don't know. I only watched the good season of Family Vacation, then I stopped watching. So Family Vacation still, I only remember the good parts of it. But I'll stick with Married at First Sight. But
Okay, we
I
got
think
2.
overall for this crew, the challenge would win.
Challenge. Who we got? Me, Harrison. Oh, and Annabeth, a late comer to the 3, beating it out. All right, it's down to the 3
then-
remaining. What do you
I'm
guys
gonna
got?
throw my voting for Married at First Sight. Challenge.
What? We're
has
done with
dragged
Married at
itself
First
on.
Sight. You missed your chance to vote. It's over.
he
No.
can still vote
You
for
can't
it.
just come in at the last second. What is this?
Sure I can.
We've moved
Whoa,
on.
whoa, whoa, whoa,
I've
whoa.
already done the official
How
tally.
was I supposed to know that we weren't just going person by person until you said challenge? Oh,
I
who
said,
else
let me
is
see
in?"
your hands for Married at First Sight. It was very clear we're doing a tally.
It
You
was
missed
not
your chance
very
to vote,
clear,
therefore,
otherwise I would've
Married at
voted.
First Sight's in the dumpster. Noah and Brian, what do you got?
Here's the thing: if your only reliance on people watching is, hey, there might be something exciting this episode, you're a terrible reality show. Like you can't keep up.
That's not what I said, to be clear. I did not say that's the only reason. I
No.
said it's a plus over Shark Tank. Shark Tank, you know exactly what you're going to get. Every episode is exactly the same.
No, I'm saying Shark Tank because I know that like there's like quality bar, like they're putting it in there. Like I think that like you saying that like, oh, challenge is better because like there's gonna be better stuff along the line is not a great reason.
Okay, so
There
are
is-
you voting for Shark Tank?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let's go to Noah. Let's keep it rolling. What do you got?
Shark Tank.
I'm
Okay,
also
so we're at a
voting for
dead
Shark
tie.
Tank.
We got 2 for Shark Tank. We've got 3 for Challenge and 3 for Married at First Sight. So Challenge wins.
No, that's not how that works.
You know what? It's fine.
They're all winners, really.
I'm just saying, who's getting the best of best belt? Somebody's got to get that belt.
This is
Somebody's
like
got
a
the best of best
hypothetical.
belt. Okay, all right. Hold on. Brian and Noah, you have to just pick between the 2. You can't pick Shark Tank.
Oh, I'm gonna pick Married at First Sight.
Yeah, you knew you're gonna win. You rigged the competition,
Yeah,
Chris.
you rigged it.
I didn't
Yeah,
bring
I
it.
know.
That's how
You rigged it.
That's how you break
I'm
tiebreakers.
kidding.
Stack ranking.
That's how you break tiebreakers.
All right,
I'm kidding.
I
But
think we got to
would've-
take. I think we got to take this to the addendum at this point.
yeah.
Any close calls that didn't quite make it into the top for anyone?
A bunch of things that you guys mentioned, but like we've talked about it.
I had Caligula, which was just such an odd idea for a show, and it did have something called the Kidnapping Championships. So, gotta give it a shout out.
Yeah, of all the things mentioned, I was going to say Caligula. It was towards the top half of my list.
Caligula was different. I wouldn't say it was good.
So, based on reality shows, not in the top. But you know what I'm going to say? Quibi, overall, would be a clear top for me.
Yeah, we're moving on from Quibi. Somebody
We're
mute
not
him
talking
around the
about
horn.
Quibi anymore. No,
Deduct
you're
10
not
points.
allowed. It's banned from the podcast now.
Gotta get my referral fee, you know.
Yo, is this the time that we get into
another one-
Rob's stat corner?
The stat corner is time.
We can go into the stat corner. Do people want to guess things, or should I just give out some stats?
Well, give me some
do wanna
categories.
guess.
Okay, we'll quickly go through it. First, since it came up earlier, I'll quickly say I counted 10 love shows. Don't quote me on that. That was quick going through, but 5 of the last 14 were love shows. So our love show is ramping up at the end of the season. So that's the thing on that. All right,
What was the overall like net rating on love shows? Do we have that?
it's very varied. Like you had a love show in your top 5. There's probably more bottoms than tops, but that's the overall theme of things. Is that definitely more things end up in the bottom than the top. For overall, how people did with stack ranking, most 5 of us out of 5 out of 8 had more middle third than anything else, but 2 people almost had more middle thirds than the other 2 combined. So I want to guess who was so on the middle third that it was almost more than the other 2 combined.
Like proportionally or just net total? Because like it depends how many shows you watch, right?
Like, here's an example. There's someone who's got 9 bottom thirds, 17 middle thirds, and 9 top thirds.
That's me.
Is that-
Right, that is James.
Okay, yeah, nice.
Oh, sorry.
And
Did I
then-
ruin the punch? Like I just.
No,
looked
that's fine.
Okay.
No, that was a good
Not
guess.
good stack ranking, James. What are you doing?
Who wants to guess who the other
What do you
person-
mean? I'm perfect. There was 9 in
That's
the
not
bottom, 9
perfect.
in the top, and there was a bunch of shit in the middle. That's a bell curve. What are you talking about? That's what it's
It's
supposed
not
to
a
be.
bell curve. That's
Yeah.
not a stack ranking.
That's how my stack rank did.
Rob, I think it's not me, and it's not Chris, and it's probably not you.
Harrison,
Harrison's voting for Harrison.
Gotta be
Any
me.
other guesses?
Noah.
It is Annabeth.
Oh.
6 bottom, 12 middle, 7 top.
Wow.
Similar ranking.
So
James and
yeah,
I are doing it right, I think.
Some normal distribution going on here.
team bell curve. All right, who is the one person who had more tops than the other 2?
No.
Probably Max. Max
I vote
likes
what?
way a bunch of shit.
I'm gonna go with Chris.
I think it's me.
It is Harrison.
Oh, what?
Oh, the gullible Harrison.
8 bottom, 10 middle, 11 top.
Yeah.
That's good stack
That was
ranking,
pretty
though.
good though. Pretty good.
Now, there's 2 people who had bottom as their most common one.
Chris.
Noah.
Chris.
Definitely Noah, though.
Definitely Noah.
You nailed it. It's Chris and Noah.
What's Noah's breakdown? Like Noah's got like 20 in the bottom, 2 in the middle, and like a half in the top.
Noah's actually pretty balanced. It's 13 bottom, 10 middle, 9 top. It's just the ones he puts in the bottom, the ones he puts in the top are just all over the map versus everyone else. But I think the most balanced one is someone has 13 bottom, 14 middle, 11 top. That's pretty good. So who do you think the most balanced was this year?
Rob.
Rob.
It's Rob.
It's not me. Thank you for your support. That was Max.
Whoa.
Oh.
11, 13, 14, you said?
11, 13, 14.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Top
You get
heavy.
an award. You have to get an
Expected.
award for the most balanced stack ranking. You never said what my actual rankings were.
Oh, sorry. So yours was 19 bottom, 16 middle, 14 top. So pretty balanced.
That's pretty
Man,
good.
also, I think Chris has the record for most episodes.
Again,
Chris definitely has the record for most episodes.
Well done, Chris.
And so
I think there was like one episode this season I wasn't on.
Yeah, that's.
I think you were not on at least one of the hot tub ones. I think
Oh, yeah.
that's part of it.
Oh, I think there were 2.
This
There
was a long
uh,
season, dude.
I watched the show, but wasn't on the pod for one.
When did we
Anyway.
start this season?
One of the hot tub
Was it
shows.
last summer?
Yeah, it was last summer, fall. You were not on Antiques Roadshow.
Yeah.
That might be the only one.
Whoa.
There was
see a-
another one where I was sick and I said go on without me, but I don't
I
remember
s-
what that
but you
was.
still gave a rating, so
Yeah.
there's a rating for it.
There's a rating for it.
So quickly, the ones I didn't mention, I did 9 bottom, 12 middle, 9 top. So I was not quite full bell curve, but I was on that wavelength. And Brian did 10 bottom, 15 middle, 8 top.
Brian, a little more negative than I'm a little surprised.
All right.
You know, I also watched a lot of shitty shows this season. Like
Yeah. I feel like you dealt with a lot of the garbage for us. Thanks, man.
yeah.
All right. Now, how many unanimous bottom thirds shows do you think we had?
Out of 51 or something?
50. There's 50 shows.
I'm gonna say 4.
3.
All of these are good guesses. I'm gonna say 6.
I'm gonna go with 3.
8.
Oh shit!
And here's the thing: one of the 8 made no one's bottom 5.
What was it?
So the overall 8, I guess the one that didn't make any bottom 5 was Ghosted. Nobody decided to put Ghosted in their bottom 5. Terrible show.
Deserve to be in there.
Other ones were Paradise Hotel, I Get That a Lot, Nailed It, Prank Encounters, Encore, Rap Battle, and The Bush Family Brood.
A lot of garbage.
How many unanimous top thirds do you think we had?
3.
5.
2.
4.
3 is the right answer.
Whoa.
And one of them also didn't make any of our top 5s. Savage Builds.
Oh,
Savage
that was my
Builds
number 7.
was a unanimous top third, but not a solid bottom of the top, I guess. The other 2 were 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way and Shark Tank. So Shark Tank represents the unanimous top and the overall prize. All right, and last thing on my stats corner, and I think I thought of this last year and didn't do it. I need to make a note. We should do more bets during the podcast because I think this is a fun finale thing. We only have 2. So one of them is still TBD, but looking positive that Chris and I bet when will The Masked Singer season 4 premiere. He said summer, I said fall. I think it's looking like fall, but it's not.
That's
it's
unfair.
Not defined yet. Hey,
The world is like,
Yeah.
the bet doesn't
filming
say
it
why.
now.
It's a bet.
The bet says it's going to premiere in the fall, and that's
Chris,
going to
you
happen.
lose. I'm sorry.
unfair.
So, but the other thing is unclear of when we'll be able to pay off this bet because it's that the loser buys Rignick margaritas, but we both drink Rignick margaritas together. So
Oh no, that's a real
the
bummer.
other bet was a shotgun bet. Would Brian's worst show of season 4 be Marriage Rescue? And James did a good job of being like, I need an answer. He did make it his worst show of season 4, so Chris has to shotgun.
Wait, what was the bet?
The
Between
bet is
me and
that was-
James?
between you and Brian, the fourth show we did in season 4 was Marriage Rescue, and you bet Brian's like, this is going to be the worst show we do all year, and you're like, there's no way there'll be worse shows, so you shotgun bet him that if that was still his worst show at the season 4 finale, you would shotgun, else Brian would have to shotgun.
All right.
Wow. Now or at a later date?
I mean, if we were together for the finale, I'd say now. I think we probably should do it at a later date, but we'll find a way.
I think he should do
talk
it
about
on the
Not
podcast.
right now.
at
Maybe
some
we'll
point.
do some kind of Facebook live stream thing. We'll see.
Whoa.
Yeah, Facebook Live it.
It's just
But yeah.
like, I have to do that outside. I gotta bring the laptop outside. There's a lot of steps to for me to do that in this Zoom call.
I
But
mean,
I'll do it.
the
I do
alternative is
remember betting him that.
the alternative is you do it right just in the middle of your apartment, not outside. You know.
No, that's just not gonna happen.
No, don't do that.
But I will try to remember to propose bets more often during the season because I think it's a fun wrinkle for the finale. But those were our
I like
two.
it.
I like it. More bets in the next season. Can we get a Top Chef fantasy update? Is now a good time for that? Does anyone have that? Is that over?
So-
Who is Harrison still losing? That's all I remember.
Harrison's
I-
definitely still losing.
So
What?
So wait for that stat correction.
I don't have the latest episode in the spreadsheet yet. So,
Oh, damn it.
but Harrison is definitely losing with 4 points still.
One thing that I did just look up: first episode of season 1 of our pod, May 16th, 2019. So about a year on this season.
Yeah, we're slightly over a year. We have a weird calendar schedule going on, but I think that's it. Anyone else got anything they need to talk about with season 4? Got any highlights of the pod?
I mean,
So,
hot tub
this
episodes
whole
were great.
Quarantine situation has kind of gotten us all in a weird situation. Everyone's in a weird situation, so hopefully we provide some entertainment for people sitting at home watching reality shows. So,
Yeah, some highlights with the Truck Night Pod was a highlight, and we're talking about our quarantine shows. Our Tiger King episode with multiple post outro additions was a pretty fun one to do.
Tiger King was nuts. That was a wild ride. Like, not a great show, but it was a wild ride. Very, very enjoyable pod.
yeah, we had to get on.
Bottom 5.
Too bad it was not allowed to be included in a top or bottom. So I think that might have been the top show. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
They're doing
All right,
another
guys,
Carol
well-
Bastion spinoff now on this. Have you heard about this?
No.
Oh yeah, they're getting a Carol Bastion one. They're trying to. I think they're casting right now who's going to play Carol Bastion. So stay tuned. There's more to come on the saga of the Tiger King. I don't even know. Expanded universe. Who knows? Anyways.
Who knows? All right. Well, you can see us next season where we discuss more reality shows. And you can find us on Twitter at WhoPutThisOn. You can find us on Facebook.com/WhoPutThisOn. You can email us questions and suggestions at WhoPutThisOn@gmail.com.
Hey, I'm about a month away from permanently wearing a hat.